On a recent flight, something happened to us that we cannot explain.
Let's talk about that. Good morning, Chia Lincoln. It is Thursday, February 172011. Ooh, I'm getting worked up. Look at me.
I think it's just your coffee that was causing that.
Hot under the collar there.
As we said, on a recent flight, something happened to us that we cannot explain. We went to make a video with Aura Brush, the sponsor of our recent Link's Golden Advice for Single Guys that was released on Monday.
Yes.
So we went to make a cameo in a couple of Aura Brush videos out in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Indeed.
And typically when we travel from state to state, we use some form of transportation, whether that be car, train, submarine, rowboat, teleportation, helicopter.
You could crawl, possibly.
Or roll. Like you do some continuous somersaults. I think there's like a guy who did that and has like a world record for like going across the entire United States doing somersaults.
I wonder if he kept something on his hands.
Maybe we should travel like that. There's Rhett and Link. Yeah, they're always somersaulting around. Look at them.
I don't know how to do a somersault. I would need to take a class. Are there like community classes?
We could be sponsored by an anti-nausea medicine.
Or a somersaulting league.
Or like shoulder pads. Smith shoulder pads. All kinds of pads. Helmets.
Football players wear shoulder pads. Somersaulters wear gloves, I think.
No, like this
professional somersaulters.
This part, like the hump on your back, you need a pad there.
So anyway, we chose the mode of transportation known as the plane. Flight on a plane.
Because North Carolina's first in flight. That's why we fly everywhere we go.
So listen, we cannot explain what happened. This is like a Twilight Zone kind of thing. So as we tell you what happened, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. You know.
Where's ma'am?
We want you. Please tell us. Explain this to us, okay?
All
in
right.
the comments.
Here's what happened. We got an itinerary in an email. That's usually how this happens. That says from Delta that said you're going from RDU to Salt Lake City. It said RDU to Salt Lake City, direct flight. We show up at the airport. We receive our boarding pass. It says one boarding pass apiece. It says RDU to Salt Lake City. Total travel time,
Like
5 hours,
5 hours,
whatever.
4.5 hours, something.
You know, you'll get there at this time. Here's your gate. We go to the gate. At the gate, it typically says the city that you're going to. Well, that was the case for us.
It did. It said Salt Lake City. So we go in there. We get on the plane.
Yeah, the plane.
And, you know,
It
we
was
sit
a
down.
plane.
And I do what, you know, I normally do. I just go to sleep pretty much immediately. I mean, it was a 6 o'clock flight. We had to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to go to sleep, you know?
And I'm not, because I cannot sleep on a plane because I'm a giant. And there is not a giant section unless you're paying for first class, and we didn't.
So I was just like this.
Yeah, Link was leaning on me like this. Drool was dripping down my arm, and I was a little embarrassed. I would knock him over to the next guy, and he would sleep on the other guy that we didn't know for a little bit. And then after a while, he would switch places, and he would come back over to my side. And I would tolerate it for about 10 minutes, and I would hop him back over to the other side. So here's what happens as we're flying, and Link is sleeping on the big dude on our left. I notice about halfway through the flight, about 2 hours into the flight, I'm like, we start passing over a huge body of water, like a huge body of water. Like it felt like we were going into the ocean, but then after a couple of minutes, we came to the other side of it, and I was like, is there a Great Lake somewhere in the United States other than where the Great Lakes are? Like, is there a Great Lake in Texas? Is there a Great Lake in Oklahoma? I mean, the states that we would have to pass over in order to get to Utah? And I'm like, I don't think so. And that's when I'm like picturing the map in my head, and I'm trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden, I hear the guy say, we'll be arriving in the Twin Cities in approximately 10 minutes. So I wake Link up.
And I'm like, what? And Rhett's like, did he just, I think he just said, we'll be arriving in the Windy City. And I was like, that's Chicago. Mm-hmm. But I did think he said the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Which is Minneapolis and St. Paul.
And there was snow all over the ground and frozen lakes. And I was like, this doesn't seem like Utah.
So, and then Rhett gets out his boarding pass, and it says, RDU, Salt Lake City. And he was like, yeah. He's like, we look around, no one else is confused. And he's like, what? Ask the flight attendants. Flight attendant's coming by. And I stop him, and I'm like, I hold up my boarding pass and I say, how are we going to get to Salt Lake City? Show him the boarding pass. And he goes, on a plane.
Smart Alec. Delta employee. Come on, talk to this guy.
And immediately at that moment, I took the palm of my hand and I went, bam! And I did that thing where you hit somebody's nose and it goes up into their brain and they immediately die.
I don't recall that. I recall you going, oh, okay.
I did it in my mind.
Okay, so after Link didn't kill the stewardess and just said...
Flight attendant.
Yeah, and he would actually be a steward, I guess, because he was a male flight attendant. After he didn't kill the steward, he
said you'll get off this plane. You have to disembark, but then you can ask somebody at the gate or whatever.
So we did that, and I went up to this lady at the gate, and I was like,
no one else is confused. By the way,
I felt kind of stupid. I was like, what? And I kind of put my shoulders like this, and I held my ticket like this, and I talked in my voice like this, because usually when you talk in this voice when you're experiencing some kind of trouble, they listen to you. I was like, ma'am,
you get a hunchback, and they take pity on you.
They take pity on you, ma'am. We got this ticket that says Salt Lake City, but I don't believe that this is Salt Lake City, and we really need to get to Salt Lake City, and our ticket says Salt Lake City, but I don't believe that this is Salt Lake City. And she cut me off because I was kind of rambling like that. And she said, sir, just the gate C3, just take your ticket down to gate C3 and then get on that plane.
And so we went down there, different plane. I looked at the sign. It said Salt Lake City. I was like, okay, who knows where we're actually going to go, but we might as well get on there. Same boarding pass, boop, boop. Same physical boarding pass, boop, boop. Same seats.
On a different plane. Different plane, same exact seats.
Different people.
Totally different people. And then that plane landed in Salt Lake City. We got off, and our bags were there. It was like nothing ever happened. Now, I want you to theorize in the comments what happened.
Like Twilight Zone.
But I've got a theory, and Link, you can think of your theory while I'm coming up with my theory.
Okay.
I believe that we had a brush with another dimension. I believe that if we had have only gotten off in the Twin Cities and like gone to the food court, we would have fully assimilated into the other dimension, and we would have been like in our own episode of Lost.
Uh-huh.
You know, there would have been a big dude at the Sbarro with curly hair. That's Hurley. There would have been like this really stern, nervous back doctor over at the Chinese restaurant. That's Jack Shepherd. And there would have been this redneck dude with a gun and long hair and kind of an attitude. That would have been Sawyer. He would have been eating at the Burger King.
And I would have regained my ability to walk. I can walk. Look, must be another dimension. Salt Lake City.
That's what Twin Cities.
The Twin Cities.
That's what we missed out on, Link.
Now, my theory is that we have arrived, Red. We are a lot more popular than we think we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a practical joke that the whole airline industry was in on. And they said, we're going to pull a practical joke on those really famous guys, Rhett and Link. They're watching our show.
Yeah.
And that right now they're just laughing. We got him! We got him! We've made it.
I don't think that's a plausible explanation. I think my explanation is more plausible than that, Link.
Do you have a more plausible explanation? Please let us know. We are all ears, people.
But we're okay, and I think we're in the same dimension that we were in before we flew.
Yes.
A couple of little things have changed. Like I got home and my wife had changed her hair color. But I think that was intentional. I don't believe that had to do with another dimension.
Did she know who you were?
It took her a second, but yeah, she did.
Huh.
Okay, let's check in with Chialincoln. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sad to say, but I believe the estimated time of death for Chialincoln was last night about 3 a.m.
What does this mean for our show?
Well, I don't want to get into what this means for a show because I'm not going to go there yet. But what I will say is that the original term "wake" for awake when somebody dies is because they used to sit around and wait for the dude to wake up just in case he wasn't dead. They'd like put him on a table, everybody would start eating and kind of watching him and waiting for him, and every once in a while he'd wake up and he'd be like, "Hey, is this my birthday party? Why am I naked?"
Well, it only takes one time for that to happen to change the whole society.
Is this a dream?
So I think that's what happened.
No, bro, you were dead and now you woke up. Welcome back.
Okay, well, will you wake with us? Wake with us.
We're waiting to see if Chialincoln wakes up. We're in a mourning period, but this is the wake.
We'll see you tomorrow.